questions?
What do you think of the non-call at the end?
Listen, that's one of those judgment calls made quick. They didn't make it. Worked against us. The hit on Pasternak, we have to look at that too. That's one, more concerning. That's one of our top end guys, and see if that was within the rules as well. So the overtime one, I think you get some of those some nights. You don't have nights. And it didn't go our way that one.
Bruce, what about John sticking up for?
Well, you can't say enough about him, right? Like here he is coming off shoulder surgery, and obviously it's a reaction thing. He's not thinking about anything other than protecting his teammates. So that's just tells you all you need to know about his character. Probably not the perfect guy in that situation, obviously coming off that injury, but good for him. He'll earn a lot of respect, in that locker room that he already has. We'll have even more.
How would you gauge David's frustration level these past few games?
Well, him and Marshy both, they're used to scoring. We haven't finished as much. I think our power play is part of that right now. It's not executing at a high level. I don't know if that's cyclical. I've always said special teams can be. Ours has been running pretty good for a while, so maybe it's just one of those cycles right now where we have to simplify. I think that's certainly part of it. We've left some plays on the table out there that kind of game plan before and try to maybe force plays, but these are high-end players that make things happen, so you want to let them sort of play their way out of it. So I think that feeds into part of it. They're used to getting their looks. We're spending a lot of time going back and on wind sprints. We're going back into our end and back down the ice again. So, and I think teams are just recognizing that. Listen, these are the leading scorers in the league. We got to pay a little more attention to them. I think it's going to happen in Edmonton with their two guys. Happened last night against Ottawa, right? So it's going to happen. And they'll have to find ways to fight through it, and I'll have to find ways to get them away from certain matchups if I feel that's what it is. But I just think it's a general thing with them right now in terms of limiting their opportunities. But the other guys picked it up for us, tonight. That's kind of what we needed, and makes us a good team.
Wagner kind of reminds me of a utility infielder in that you can play net front. You have him on the shootout sometimes. He scores a nice one tonight. So what is it about his skill set that it doesn't go to another level for him?
Well, I don't think he's a natural playmaker in tight areas. When Wags has had some space like he did tonight, he can certainly beat a goalie. He's shown that on breakaways over the course of his 3 years here. 3 or 2, right? 3. And whatever time it was, he's made some nice moves when he's in all alone. He'll get dirty goals going to the net, but those little tight area plays, maybe his hands aren't as fast as say a Marshy's, or the sense isn't quite as Krejci, whatever you want to call it. It's not for lack of effort. That's just the type of player he is, and a lot of times he wants to finish checks on the forecheck, so he's not maybe going fishing for that easy strip or pick off a pass. He wants to do his job and get his hits in, so that's what we got him for. So I think that's a product of just his style of play. Is a little more north-south, a little more workman-like than maybe skill. And at the end of the day, if he plays the right way and has some skill around him, I still think he's capable. He had 12 last year. I don't think it's a stretch to say he could get that again. He's behind that pace right now, but if maybe this gets him going a little bit. Sometimes that's what it takes. Nordy, the same thing, kind of get one, and all of a sudden you start feeling better about yourself.
What John Moore did aside, would you like to see your team maybe establish something physically earlier in games, and maybe there'd be less pushback onto Pasta the way it's been, or?
Well, we try to be physical. I don't think that's ever been a trait that's not in our room. Some games it doesn't work out that way. It seemed like it wasn't a lot there tonight. You end up in the power play. So some of those guys that do establish that, they're not on the ice. They don't get into a rhythm. Chicago's the type of team, they're a little more of a transition rush-oriented game. So they kind of dragged us into their style of play more than we wanted to drag them into our style. And I think that's why they got the lead. So it's shame on us for that. We feel we can still win those types of games, but we're a much better team against Chicago if they, play our way where it's below the top of the circle cycle, and they got their way more than us. So in that sense, credit to them. Other than that, I'd like to think we'll be physical, when we need to be. And Tonight it wasn't there as much as we'd like.
Are
Just
you-
two more.
Are you concerned at all, Bruce, just double-digit lead in the division, gotten points in a lot of games, kind of a wide gap between you and everybody else, that there could be some complacency, comfort that could start to creep in? Is that something you have to be sort of watchful for?
We've been addressing that for a month now, Hags, to be honest with you. When we do video, we're talking about cleaning up our game. I've said it and I'll say it again tonight. We're not at 60 minutes. Our guys know that. We talk to them. Complacency, I would say no. Lack of urgency some nights, yes. We're not pushing as hard as we need to get to our level. Is that because of where we are? Is that because of last year? Is that because we feel like we're a good enough team that we can flip a switch? Probably bits and pieces of all those things. I'm not gonna deny it. Our job is to make sure we don't get complacent. I don't think we have been, to be honest with you. I think it would show in our record if we were. But lack of urgency from period to period, absolutely. We're gonna continue to address it. But, to get to your level 82 times a night for 60 games, if you feel you're better than, you're gonna be in that second season, it is a challenge for a coach and it's a challenge for the players, but we'll meet it.
Just
Just the last one.
back on Moore, no update or anything on,
He came back in
Oh,
the
yeah,
game,
but he's-
so he was fine when he was on the bench. So I assume,
okay.
knock on wood, that I don't think they would have sent him back out if there's anything going on, but I guess in the morning we'll see. But I think maybe just because of the injury, something maybe, who knows, he might have been just a little mentally nervous as well if there was some sort of
Right.
twinge, but he's cleared to come back or would
Okay.
come back. Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Well,